Welcome to the T. Vaxelbaum Show. This is T. freaking episode 79 of the program. Can you believe that it's 79? I've done 79 of these things by the time that you're watching this. For me, I've only done 78. I'm in the process of doing the 79th. So for me, I've only done 78. For you, I've done 79 because it's in the past. This is currently the present for me. For you, you're watching me in the past. In the past. For me, I haven't done this yet. I'm looking for this to be done, and that's in the future. Episode 79. It's in the present and the future because it still hasn't ended yet. So it's happening right now. Anyway, welcome back. This is a podcast. My name's Tim Weisselbaum. Wuschelblum. And I am a podcaster, programmer, vlogger. And look how long my hair's getting long. So I'm from Texas. You're supposed to say it Texas as opposed to Tex isn't. Tex isn't the place to be right now. Texas used to be the place to be. Now it's too hot to be here. It's too hot, man. It's too hot to go out. There's a heat warning. There's a heat. It's like, hey, it's going to be hot. What am I supposed to... Okay. So use the air conditioner the same way I've been using it. Like, thank you for the warning, but I'm not going to be just walking outside in the middle of the heat. I'm not at risk of the heat really affecting me other than it normally is. Because I'm staying inside because I'm not an idiot. I stay inside. I didn't come here to go outside. It's not why I moved to Texas. I didn't move to Texas to go outside and be exposed to the elements and get older faster. Get sun damage. I don't even keep my car outside. I don't even like my cars aging by the Texas sun. God forbid I let my car sit outside for long enough to heat up the inside, and you walk in the car, the seat belt metal touches your skin, you get a burn. That hasn't happened to me because I keep it inside the garage. Let's talk more about the garage for a little while. We're going to spend about 20 minutes of the episode talking about this because this is pretty much what happened. All that happened to me. I did have to go outside for about 10 minutes yesterday. First, it was just a choice to just go outside and get some fresh air because being cooped up on the inside, just breathing this indoor air, it just doesn't really do much. It's not healthy for the brain, for the psychological brain. So you got to go outside and feel the breeze. But it was too hot. But it was super hot. But anyway, that wasn't the problem. I was only going out there for 2 minutes to smoke a fake CBD. So I went out there. And I noticed that the garage was open. I left the garage open for about a day and a half. 2 days. Something enough for it to be like, oh boy. Good thing there was nothing in there. There was nothing in there except for a broom, my water heater. There was nothing to steal. They could have walked in. The door was unlocked. But who cares? Like, yeah, I leave the door was unlocked for the garage to get in the house. But nobody walked in my house. But the other problem with leaving your garage open for a day and a half in Texas in the middle of the heat, summer. It's not even summer, I don't think, but it's like 100 degrees out every day. It's a heat wave. The problem with doing this is the wildlife is going to go into the garage to get a refuge from the heat. Because even the wildlife is not a fan of the heat. They're not designed to just be in 100-degree weather, even though they evolved to live here natively. it don't mean that they enjoy the extreme heat. It's like, yeah, okay, it's because I'm a lizard and I'm born here and evolution designed me to live here. I don't want to be at 100 degrees all the time. It's still a pain in the ass. It's because you're an animal designed for the environment. Doesn't mean it's like everything's a peachy, everything's a cakewalk. It's like they still don't like it every day. It's like, can I get some shade? So they go in the garage for shade. So I was like, oh crap, I left my garage open for 2 days. No car. There was no car in there. Because my car is in the shop still from a week ago. Since somebody sideswiped me. Some idiot Uber driver sideswiped me. And I didn't get their license plate. I tried to record it. I was too far away. So I'm going through insurance and it's a huge PETA. Huge pain in the ass. But anyway, the garage, so there's nothing to worry about with the car. The problem is I have these glue traps I leave right by the edges of the garage, in the corners of the front of the garage, where the garage opens and closes right on the sides there. That's where I keep glue traps. Just 2 glue traps, big, heavy duty. So I was like, crap. I immediately noticed that there was like 2 like snaky looking things in one of them, and then the other one, 2 frogs. I was like, oh crap, I got a bunch of wildlife trapped in, and I didn't want to trap them. That's not what they're for. They're for tiny insects that can get through the tiny little crevice in the garage. It's never been a problem when it's closed, because then it's just a little bit of crickets and spiders and stuff that I don't care about, that I don't want, getting through the threshold. But when you leave the garage wide open, you're going to get animals. So how freaking, I was kind of like grossed. Man, I was like, ugh, that's not what I want. I didn't want to catch frogs and lizards. It was weird how they were both 2 of the same animal, like Noah's Ark. On one side it was 2 lizards, and the other side it was 2 frogs. So they must have been hanging out or something. But on the left, I've never seen lizards before. I've never seen lizards just wandering around. I've seen frogs. But apparently, there's lizards. I thought they were No, at first I thought they were snakes. I was like, oh crap, snakes! What do I do? But they were just long lizards. I thought they were geckos, but no. Geckos are more, I think, rare. But they were just regular old, but they had super long tails. That's why I thought they were snakes. Because they basically just looked like snakes with 2 little stubby legs attached to them. Because super long tails. Striped lizards. Very, strongly cut, like bright green and black stripes. But they're just called, what are they called? Common. I wrote it down on here just to get it. They're just called spotted whiptails. Spotted whiptail lizards. I looked it up because it's exotic to me. Because I don't have, I was like, oh, lizards. But they were alive. The frogs, one of the frogs was dried up and deceased. So I couldn't do nothing about that. He was dead. Frogs are more vulnerable. They need water, they need to have water around them at all times, or else they dry up in a couple days. Apparently, because this one was like dried up and not looking. It was all emaciated, but this other one was perfectly alive, right next to it, just perfectly right on the damn glue trap. And the lizards, they were just not moving at all, because they were just like, yeah, I'm totally stuck. What am I supposed to do? Their eyes were open. I was looking at, I was like waving. I was like, you guys, and then I was like, well, I'm not just gonna let them die and starve to death, because I have some love or sympathy For animals, like if I was just a lizard or a frog just stuck there, I wouldn't want to just starve to death. So I was like, well, we gotta I'm not just gonna kill them. I'm gonna try to free them. If it's anything but an animal, even a mouse, if it was a mouse, I would at least kill the thing. I would put it out of its misery, but that would be gruesome. You know, I don't like killing like I don't think they're mammals. I don't think, but they're like enough. They're human-like enough for me to not want to murder them. I don't know if they're, yeah, are they I don't know what the hell they are, but they're fur balls, and I sympathize, like mice. I don't want to have to like kill a mouse, but it wasn't a freaking mouse. It was lizards, so I knew this just from knowing about glue traps that you could free things with mineral oil or vegetable oil. So I just was like, okay. I went in the house and all I had was a little bit of avocado oil, like a little bit of it. So I doused them in that. I first doused the frog, and I could tell as soon as it got some of it near its mouth, it started like drinking it. Started drinking the avocado oil. So that frog is getting some healthy fats. It didn't die. It didn't drown. It survived. Long story short, the animals survived, the ones that were alive. There were some crickets on there that I didn't care about saving. There was a grasshopper. There was like, you know, but the animals that I care, you know, it's a pecking order. Certain animals I could not care at all about. Survive in the, you know, there's an ecosystem, you know, ecologically, sure, we need insects for ecological reasons, only because we haven't made our own ecosystem yet. We'll get there, like on Mars. Are we gonna bring ticks and bats and any animals to Mars? Really? Any besides dogs and cats, maybe? Even cats, I don't think will make the cut on Mars, because they're not domesticated enough. We'll have cows. But that leads to more problems, because if we bring the cows, now we got the methane. Okay, so we're already going to have a problem with global warming on Mars? Well, yes, because it's a cold planet, so actually that wouldn't be bad if we had an ozone layer accumulating carbon dioxide on Mars for a little while. You need some to make a nice ozone layer. Doesn't have one as much as we need that. We need a thicker one on Mars to get that nice, what do they call it? That effect, the greenhouse effect. And that'll be a beautiful tropical planet without any bugs. Why the hell would we bring bugs to Mars? So I'm for bugs on Earth, only because they play an ecological role. Except for mosquitoes. Nobody agrees, except for the mosquito, except for the lobbyists in the mosquito community, which are only mosquitoes. There's nobody on Earth that's not a mosquito that is pro-mosquito. That's like, oh, we need the mosquitoes. Would you think about them? Because they are a good thing. They're part of the eco. No, they're alive, and we don't give a crap about them. Just because they're alive doesn't mean that they deserve to be alive. So mosquitoes, everybody agrees. Every expert on the earth agrees that they could not be on the earth. They might as well just be burnt. Might as well just all be accumulated into a mass and compressed into a smaller mass until it's like the size of a basketball. And then it would just turn into like a rock. And then it's like, here's all the mosquitoes on the planet, and now it's like a small rock. And we'll just put it on we'll just get rid of it. We'll just like, okay, that's it. Why keep it at that point? We'll just turn it into carbon ash, or keep it as a memento for like a thing that should not exist. It's just a parasite. It's like, thank you. It's like these things that nature creates, not all of them are like good, like symbiotic. They don't belong here. They're just evil. Some things that nature creates are only evil. So nature There's no such thing as God, is what I'm saying. Like, if God existed, why would they do that? Yeah, I'm going to create things that are just evil to make people suffer more. So if there is like such a thing as like a overlooker, something that created the universe or the simulation, why would you write in something like mosquitoes into the code? I don't know, but nature is not good. I'm saying nature's not a perfect thing, and that's why we fight the shit out of it. You know, you don't just go into nature and just accept it for the way it is. You'll get killed immediately. You'll get poison ivy. You'll get malaria. You'll get heat stroke. You'll freeze to death. Something will maul you. So what I'm trying to say, bottom line, is fuck nature. Yeah, not in a mean way, I'm just saying, but like kind of. There's some cool things. It's pretty. There's some beautiful things about it, but usually what we say is beautiful. Sunsets, that's about it. Everything else is just like, It's asymmetrical. Anyway, and disease is disgusting. Like, no one's ever been like, oh, that's a beautiful disease. Everybody agrees that every disease is like gross looking. Nobody looks at a diseased deer and goes, it's a good looking. No, it's diseased. Something wrong with that deer. It's like, oh, yeah, it has a disease. It's like, okay, well, I kind of want it's a good looking. No diseases improve the health of an organism. Why the hell? Why not? Why is there no good diseases? What the hell is that about? That's another complaint I have with nature. It's like, you can only get a disease that only does bad. Nobody gets catches like a good cold. It's like, yeah, I caught a warm. I caught a hot, not a bad cold. I caught a blessing. Like, there's no word for it because it doesn't exist. You either are healthy or sick. There's no such thing as like a boost or like a power up, like in video games, because we're better than nature. That's why we created video games. There's no such thing as a video game in nature, except for drugs or something. Like, you take drugs, that's a power up. Oh, I walked into, I ate a mushroom on accident. I ate this mushroom and it made me feel like I had superpowers. Yeah, but usually not. That's the best thing we got. And then opium. So, oh, I ate this pod of opium and it made me feel really good. It's like, that's it? That's the best you got, nature? Just drugs? We're the ones who made them improved. We had to improve those drugs into better ones. Yeah, like what are like the good drugs that are like, okay, weed, is that a power up? Kind of, for a short duration. It gives you a nice dopamine. But I haven't been doing anyway. So nature, it's not great. There's no such thing as like good diseases. And to get back to the real topic here, the lizards, the avocado. We started with that to get these things off the sticky glue traps. It takes a long time for the glue traps to give way. But it was working. I got the damn... I just kept like pouring as much as I had. I ran out of avocado oil, and the things were all stuck and all alive and trying to break free, but like, no. The frog was like trying to hop away, and his belly was still stuck to the damn thing. And I was like, okay, it's just a matter, it'll get free. But I got more stuff. I got Crisco. I had to bust out the Crisco because I had nothing. I had no olive oil. What am I going to use? Butter? So I had to melt some Crisco, threw it in the microwave. In the cup, I used like a plastic Solo cup for some stupid reason. And that melted the cup. So but whatever, I had I had a bunch of melted Crisco. So I waited for it to cool off a little bit. Because I didn't want to scald the animals in Crisco and kill them. That would be not a pleasant way to go. I chucked it all over them. So that worked, and now I noticed that the frog had left the trap without me even realizing. I looked, oh, it's free, and I saw that it was in the bushes, and it was like, okay, you're free. I saved that thing, and then the lizards took a little longer to free. I doused them in the Crisco. I got one of them off. I had to use a broom to lift its body, in the most gentle way I could. I just kept lifting and waiting and applying, eventually it got free and had enough energy to run off away from the garage, and it gave me a nice little, I don't know, I looked happy to be still free and a lot, and then the other one took more effort. It took a lot of Crisco, and by the time I got that one off, it was like it was so covered in congealing Crisco. It was just like had all this white fat all over it because it was drying out. It was solidifying. I felt bad for the thing. I was like, okay, you're very lubed up. I don't think that's good to be pre-seasoned with Crisco as a lizard in nature. I think that'll make you tastier for the hawks. So I had a squirt I had a bottle of water that I squirted onto the lizard. I squirted it with water, and it enjoyed the water, and it kept running towards me. I was like, don't run towards me, but here's more water. So once I thought I had enough water, I tried to get it out of the damn garage, and it kept coming back in. So I had to use the broom to sweep the damn thing out of the garage. And I didn't want to hurt it, but that's all I could do. I didn't want to touch the damn thing. So I just swept it out of the garage, and it found refuge. It's probably, who knows, I mean, I did my job. It's safe. I saved what I could out of the... So anyway, glue traps are not very, ethical, you'd call it. If you're a PETA guy, PETA-phile, I call them. If you're into animals, I don't think glue traps are the way to go to catch a mouse, like a pest. They're not very humane. So if I have a rat, like a mouse problem, rodent problem, I would use, I guess, the kind that just snap their necks in half. The kind that just completely... Those don't seem very humane either. Those have to, snap their neck perfectly in the right place, or else they're just going to be in pain. And, might just break only their legs, but they'll still be stuck there. And the glue traps are worse, though, because they will either starve to death, or they will try to break free, which involves, literally gnawing away. They will gnaw their limbs off. Or they'll just, break free and just leave a couple limbs on the glue. So they're not good for rodents. I mean, unless you just enjoy the part where you catch them and kill them yourself. If you enjoy killing animals, maybe that's for you. But glue traps are, really good for indoor insects and spiders. So, I mean, when I had the spider problem last year, the recluse problem, which it's recluse season, by the way. We're in the heat. It's mid-June. Recluse season goes until October. November is when I could start sleeping with not one eye open. Maybe I could sleep with two eyes closed. Yeah, once it hits November, they recede back into the walls. But anyway, I haven't found any recluse yet, but I'm expecting them, because I don't think I got all of them. But last year I had a huge amount of them. 100 of them just showing up on glue traps, not big ones. It was just one batch of recluse from a baby, from a mother that had babies. So they were all juvenile, but they were getting bigger throughout the few months that they were a lot that I noticed them. There's no way I got, I mean, it was horrendous just waking up every day and finding more of them. Many of them were alive. I would have noticed them even if I never got the glue traps. That's how I first noticed them. It was a nightmare. But now it's made me less of an arachnophobe because I've been exposed to one of the worst kinds you could be exposed to. So now when I see a regular spider, it's like, okay, whatever. I don't like it. I still don't want it to be close to me or on me or sleeping with it. But if it's not a recluse, at least I don't have to freak out. Even if it's a recluse, I didn't freak out. It just made me like nauseated and like have this like gut feeling of like uneasiness. It's like, I don't want to. It just made me not be able to sleep at night for rational fear, But they're horrendous. Even the small ones, could still bite you. But the glue traps are really effective at catching these damn things because they only go on the ground. They don't know how to climb walls. They got these tiny little spindly legs that don't have enough stickiness to climb the walls. They could climb onto your clothing, and if you have a pile of laundry, you can't keep that on the floor because they will nestle in there. So you got to keep everything off the ground that they could climb into or onto. But they could be in the carpets. I've never seen them in the carpets. If they're on the floor, they're not going to be affected by most poisons because they just walk right over it. So anyway, that's where I saw them, on the floors of every room, not the carpeting. They had to be in there. I just couldn't see them, which is horrendous. But anyway, the glue traps caught so many of them, and that's great because then, I don't know, it just was helping a lot. So I still am a fan, you could say, for lack of a better word. I'm an advocate of using glue traps if you have that problem. If you have a recluse problem, yes. And then some people would even be against using them on recluse because they feel like, recluse, they're not going to bother me. They take care of other pests, and they're not going to fuck with me because they're timid. But that's okay. I'll take the other pests that are not going to leave a gaping wound. And I did get bit by something, and it was leaving like this pain. I got bit on the elbow by something. It left like this tiny little bump, and it made me like, gave me this achy feeling in my arm. I was like, what the hell is that? I don't think it was a recluse, but there's other bugs that are not that interesting to speak of. Nothing crazy at the moment. But I'm prepared for it to be bad. Because I'm just expecting with full confidence and no... It's still going to suck. Even though I feel like, oh yeah, don't be surprised if there's another recluse infestation. I'm still going to be very taken aback when they show up in these glue traps. Because they're not a good animal to have in your house. Like, they're not friendly, and they're ugly, they're horrendous. So anyway, that's another. It's only Texas. Texas isn't a good place to be unless you live in a unless you're just like, don't go outside. It's not the word. I like it still. I still have that feeling of like, oh yeah, it has its own feeling to it. Like whenever you cross the border of a different state, if you drive into Texas from Arkansas, you know when you're in Texas, that big ass sign will be like, welcome to Texas, drive safe. And you'll just feel like, yep, this is the Lone Star State. It has this ethos theme to it, that an emotion that I still like. But I guess living in like Austin doesn't have that. Austin is its own place. And that novelty, Austin, I don't know if it's the best place to live, man. It's kind of a sketchy place. And the police, I feel for them, because who the hell would want to be a cop in this town, man? Anyway, and nothing happened, The car accident, which was not an accident on my end. I did nothing wrong. Somebody asked me, hey, I heard you fucked up your car. All good? It's like, thanks for checking in. I appreciate that you're checking in, but I didn't fuck up my car. I'm not an idiot who fucks up shit. I'm an adult who is minding my own business in my Miata, which most people who have Miatas, they respect their own property. They don't drive like idiots. So no, I didn't fuck up my car. Somebody else did. Some other idiot. That's what you have to worry about here, is the people on the road, not the wildlife. It's the wild life of people. I mean, it's the wildlife. You could call them wildlife, but they're technically not, even though they're more wild than the wildlife. The people are more wild than the wildlife. The wildlife is just minding its own business. Like, I got wasps out this window here every day, all day long. I see wasps just going back and forth and bumping into the window. That sound of that same thing, doink, boink. The wasps just thinking they could just walk right in. Thank God I got good insulated windows. That's not a problem. I don't open them. Anyway, but wasps, the type of wasp that particular thing is, it's like a paper wasp, or it's the kind that builds tubes. It's I forget, but it's the kind that doesn't go after humans. Mud dauber, that's what it is. Not a paper wasp, I don't think, but it's because it makes its tube, these nests out of mud, and they're not aggressive towards humans. They look freaky. They got these separated these bodies with they're like weird, separated from their heads. Their heads, the top part of their body is separated from the bottom half, which is like this weird, tiny little tube. They look weird. I wouldn't want one on my body, but they don't go after humans. They go after spiders, like recluse, and in particular, a certain species goes after just black widows. The blue kind. So they're actually pretty, not terrifying, not that bad to have just around. I guess they provide an ecological, they go after spiders, which is kind of freaky, because that means anytime you see one of their nests, these tubular mud shaped, muddy looking, they just look like muddy tubes. Brown. What's in those, guaranteed, is going to be paralyzed living spiders of all different varieties, unless it's the kind that only goes after black widows. That's freaky. So if you knock them down and you break them open, they usually just break open on their own when they fall. They'll break open, you'll see all these spiders, like compacted, because they're pushed into the tube, so their legs are usually like pushed up, like it's freaky looking, but they're still alive. They don't kill them. They keep the spiders alive, and they paralyze them with their venom, and they feed their young. So I do like reading about the nature, because knowledge is power. It's not fun knowledge at first, but once you know, it's like, okay, at least I know what I'm getting into with all these And then, God forbid, I run into, bug beds. I mean, Jesus Christ. I think you know what I meant. I don't have to repeat it, but why did I say bug beds? But I hope I don't run into them, is the point. Because those, I would have to spend a lot of money. It's not like insurance covers that. That's just another unforeseen expense that could be incurred. You know, like anything, if something breaks, I gotta pay it out of pocket. In this car, so it's in a body shop, and the insurance gave me an estimate before they got an estimate. They just gave me a pre-estimate that I could have accepted and already got the money, but it didn't even cover the impound fee, and I didn't get the real estimate yet from the body shop. So I didn't accept this offer. I was like, this is not a good offer. It's an insult. So I got to I got to go there in person, they said, to sign off on the repairs. It's like, okay, I got to pay for a $50 Uber 10 miles away to just sign off on a repair. Can't you just do it can you just take my word for it? Here, I'll scan you. So that's a pain in the ass, and it's who knows how long it's going to take to fix the damn thing. So sometimes you'd rather it just be totaled. It's like, well, great, I'm driving this car that's been in a collision, so now it's worth less money, and I have to pay out of pocket to cover the deductible, and I didn't get any renter's money, and it's $300 a month for this insurance. That's not that cheap. It's over $300 a month, and it doesn't come with money to cover renting a car, which I should have got. Because I don't want to pay out of pocket to rent a car, man. God forbid. So anyway, I've been staying in all week, and I don't like that I can't go out. Because whenever I don't have a car is when I go, hey, it'd be kind of nice to just drive somewhere for the sake of, yeah, so it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling, and I'm thinking about getting a Tesla, going back to that, but that's more expensive. I mean, I got the Charger. They're doing a Model 3 refresh soon, but it's like a $50,000 car, and I like the Miata. The thing I like about Teslas is that they come with a pre-built, integrated, very good dash cam that records all around the vehicle. So it'd be better for, not that it would help, because what would it do? The cops don't care. The cops ain't going to do like whatever. It would just be better to at least I got the license plate. The Miata, when I get that thing back, if I get it back, I mean, who knows? They might just be like, yeah, we gave up on fixing it. Who the hell knows, man? But they picked it up from the tow yard on my behalf. So somebody's got to pay for that impound fee. It was sitting in this stupid impound lot for like almost, a week. And it incurred like a lot of fees. But they picked it up for me. They didn't think they would be able to do that. They're like, oh, you got to go there yourself to sign off, to pay to. I was like, no, you don't. I called, you don't. Anyway, so what am I going with? What's the point? Oh, yeah, I'm going to get a dash cam. Whoopee! So the next time it happens, which it will, next time I get sideswiped or murdered, like manslaughtered, at least it'll be on camera. At least someone will be able to watch my death. And I'll be yelling like my last words or something if I even see it coming. If I just see oh, great, I'm going to die. Nothing I could do. I'm in a Miata. I'm definitely going to die. I'll say something if it picks up audio. I'll say I don't know what I'll just be like, oh, great. Whoa, fuck. It'll probably just be something like that. Like an unenthusiastic, oh, great. So that's how I die. Oh, great. That's how I die. Who the hell knows? It'll probably be a lot more loud, it will be enthusiastic. It'll be, but I can't do it right now. Because I don't care. I'm not awake enough to be act out my last words. I don't have that. I'm tired. My sleep. Oh yeah. So anyway, this podcast, the point, it's like a window into my life. That's all it is. It's like I'm like Marc Maron, but without the guests. It's just the intro. A very drawn out, just an intro. But that's the whole podcast. It's like, so here's what happened. Here's my life. I talk very deeply about me. And that's what I do. That's a skill. To be able to talk about yourself is a skill. Not all comedians do that. Not that I really call myself a comedian, but when I do it, I usually talk about myself. I don't just do jokes like, hey, knock, knock, hey, what do you call a guy in a wheelchair whose dick doesn't work? Hey, a disabled cock. Sucker. I don't know. I don't do jokes like that anymore. I don't do that. Maybe sometimes I'll do that because it's like, oh, I thought of something funny. Let's do it. No, but it's usually about my life. It's usually about just an observation. And I take pride in that because I do take influence from Marc Maron. He's a dude that, because he was talking about how he gets compliments. He was hanging out with Dice, and he was like, Mark, somebody went up to Mark and was like, hey man, your podcast got me through a hard time. Got me through a dark. And Dice was afterwards just like, I don't get that. I never get that from people. Nobody says that. I don't get that from fans. And so that was something. It's like, yeah, that he probably doesn't, because he doesn't have that type. He doesn't do that type of show. Dice. I like Dice, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't talk deeply about himself and get people through hard times. But anyway, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess there is value in that. So anyway, I like Marc Maron, even though I know he has like this edginess, or he's a mean guy. He could be very cutting and mean and whatever. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. Who cares? But I saw a special and it was good. I watched his latest special on HBO Max, which is now just called Max for some. Everything's merging. Media is just owned by one person. One entity owns every IP. It's just Max and Disney. That owns everything. Netflix is another. And then another one. Who cares? Amazon Prime. And then there's another one that I can't think of at the moment. So anyway, it's on HBO. It's a really good comedy special. I thought I would. I don't know. I watched there's parts of it that are not great, and that's just in the beginning where he talks about fascism. He says it's about anti-fascism. It's like, oh great, that's gonna be a fun part. You have a special about anti-fascism, but it's only like a 10 or 20 minute, if that, like chunk, and it goes by and then it's done. He doesn't bring it back up again, you know. And that's the part that's very like weak, not funny, where he's just like, oh man, these people, some of them, they get their news from one place and they want things to be a certain way, and they think that they're like anti-woke, and eventually maybe they're just gonna start wearing the same uniforms. I get it, because they're like they're like Nazis. It's like, that's not like a funny take. It's a very like one-sided, what is the opposite of like uniting people? Divisive. Yeah, divisive. It's not funny to be divisive unless you're leaning into it so hard that it becomes ironic. If you're doing it in a way that's authentic, it's not that funny to be divisive on stage. You got to lean into it like Dice, because then we get that it's a joke, that he's not actually that misogynistic. That's why it's funny. It's ironic. It's like, wow, he's actually saying shit that you can't say. Oh, that's fun. No, Marc's take is just what every cookie cutter liberal says about their opposition. The MAGA Republicans, he called them Christian nationalists, I think. Something like that. He called them Christian nationalists, I think, or something else that had the word Christian in it, but same thing, and he left off the word white. He didn't want to say, just be that, like, okay, we're talking about white people here, white Christian nationalists, whatever. It was a very boring, like, was it thought-provoking, at least? Not really. It was more like, okay, that's interesting that people think that way, but what am I learning about myself? Because I'm not on his side. I'm on the anti-woke side. I definitely am on the not woke side. So it's like, what can I learn from this guy that I do kind of respect as a comic, he's a smart guy. So maybe there is something to at least kind of think about with this commentary. And it's like, not really about me, because I'm not who he's talking about. I don't just think like a certain way. I think he thinks a certain way. So I think about how some people are like him. Some people are so bigoted to other people in the same country that it's a phenomenon that is revealing something about them. I didn't really I didn't change that much. They changed. People on the left became more like, I want to say, like, not fascist, but like, yeah, like groupthink. They don't worship like one leader, but they have this philosophy, or like, yeah, what's, ideology, and it's about guilt and like pushing guilt off of their, just not feeling like they're bad people, so they all huddle up and circle jerk each other to pretend that they believe in these wacky woke ideas, and if you go against their agenda, you're the bad one, even though you're just putting on a facade. It's like, you don't actually believe that we should be celebrating like gay people all year, like just like pretending that we love gay people every day, all year, like every day wave of, obviously nobody believes that. It's just a thing you do to virtue signal, and Republicans do it too to some extent with the whole like nationalism thing, and like, yeah, America, fuck yeah, like they wave the American flag. Okay, all day, every day. It's like, okay, what's the content to that? Like, there's got to be something else you're doing besides just waving, just being a national. Anyway, it's just like interesting and not comforting. It's just kind of sad, and that you can't be around these people, these Marc Maron leftist types, because they're so bigoted and evil. They use unkind words, and they're divisive towards anybody that doesn't go along with them. So it's unfortunate that we have to kind of distance ourselves from them just for our own sake of like comfort. Like, there's a lot of them in Chicago that are just like exact clones, cookie cutter clones of Marc Maron. So it's not like I'm just talking about one person. I'm talking about millions, like, of these people that I've come across that I just go, okay, that was a negative interaction that they caused, that I was just being pretty honest. I don't know. I was like, yeah, I don't go along with that. Sorry, I wasn't being me. I wasn't like using nasty language. But you get into these very uncomfortable exchanges with these lefty types. because yeah, they get like they're programmed to be like, oh, you're the enemy. I have to attack. I have to do something to show that I don't condone you as a person. So unfortunately, it just puts you in this like it's like, okay, you just ignore them. You just distance yourself. It's like, so that's, you know, so that's why I don't really go back to Chicago very often, because they're still really into that. It's like their church is like these certain comedy clubs are their churches where they go to congregate and spread their wokeness, which what that means is they're guilty conscious. They talk about how I feel guilty, but here's why I shouldn't, or something. Like, here's why I'm one of the good ones, even though I'm white. And then, of course, another reason to, I guess, talk about this is because the new holiday, national holiday, Juneteenth, which is a play on words for June 19th. I didn't really know that. Because it doesn't really ring that, you know, it doesn't make me think 19. Juneteenth. What other letter or number could it be, though? Like, what other number rhymes with, like, nothing rhymes with un, but the N, it's a stupid pun. I don't know where it came from. Juneteenth. It doesn't sound like 19th. But that's what it means. It means June. It's just a condensed, horrible name for a holiday. Okay, Juneteenth. So it's just a shorthand for June 19th. Okay, but what happened? What does it mean? Usually, it said the holiday is named after the thing, like Columbus Day. Okay, I get it. It's about Christopher Columbus. Veterans Day. Okay, I got it. Memorial Day. I'm confused. Don't we have Veterans Day? Yeah, but that's for the ones that haven't died. Okay. That is a confusing one, Memorial Day, but you get it. It's about remembering shit. It's about remembering shit that people that died or something. Yeah, you get the same feeling as that and Veterans Day. And then 4th of July. Okay, that one without the Independence Day, then we'd be like, what the hell's 4th of July? It's Independence Day. It's like, oh, it's when we became independent. It's a fireworks day. Who cares about independence? Whatever. Some people still care about that. I don't. I'm going back to Europe. I'm going to Switzerland. That'll be my retirement community or country of retirement for obvious reasons. I don't like diversity. I like one culture that ain't changing. Nothing new. Keep everything the same. You know, go forward with science and keep the banking laws progressive, but conservative, fiscally conservative, not progressive in the bad way, like higher taxes. Nah. So anyway, Switzerland's looking good. But aside from that, Juneteenth is a stupid holiday. And I'm saying that not to offend people that think that that's an offense. Because who would get, I mean, I guess people would be like, how could you say that? You're just stupid. That's racist. Like, no, I think it's racist to kind of celebrate it. To be like, wait, you're celebrating not having slaves? You're like, be like, yeah, we don't have slaves anymore. Let's celebrate. It's like, so you're celebrating for not being a slave owner. That's why we have a national, every year we're going to celebrate how we decided to free the slaves. That's the holiday. No, that's stupid. The closest thing I could think that where I would be in that position of a black person is with the Holocaust. Like, okay, let's say I was in the Holocaust and then they had a holiday reminding me every year that we killed the Nazis. Oh, and that Jews went through this horrible thing. I don't know. It's like, Can I just move on? I don't need to be reminded with a holiday. You know, we have ways of memorializing it. We don't need a national holiday. It's just a weird thing to remind the whole country of every, like, on a regular basis. Like, mandate. Banks are closed today because white people did something bad 200 years ago. So we got to remind y'all. That's why the banks are closed, because white people used to have slaves. It's like, okay, so we got to keep feeling bad about it. And then, like, as if I was a black person, it's like, what is that helping me? It's like, oh, yeah, it's Juneteenth. I'm not a slave anymore. Yeah, let's party. It's like, I just feel like it's kind of like a little bit of a slap in the face to, like, be, like, told, like, by the country, by whoever, like Joe Biden, the guy that signed off on it. It's like, here you go, black people. Or we made a holiday to remind you all that we freed a slave. Here you go. We love you. It's like, do you really have to set up holidays to have, like, based on race? Like, racial history of how we don't get along with other races. They have to be, because obviously that's why it's another bullshit facade of virtue. It has no content. It's just like, here you go. I'm not so bad after all, right? Like, no, it's not. You're not bad, and there's still gonna be racial tension if you call attention. Calling attention to racial tension or atrocities doesn't take away from the, like, we have MLK Day. Isn't that kind of the same thing? We have to go further back in time for some reason. We're going back to slavery. That's what they get as reparations, a bank holiday. How the hell is that? So you're not going to give them reparations. That's another thing why it's a slap in the face. It's not giving them actual reparations. It's just a fucking holiday where they can't get paid because everything's closed. And the stock market's closed, so it's hurting everybody. Not just poor inner city people that don't have a trade and that don't have a portfolio even. It's also affecting Wall Street. Thank you, Joe Biden. So MLK Day, say, what's the difference? Like, we already like remembered him and the marches and the civil rights shit that he did, which was great and badass. Why? Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah. It's oh yeah. So like, there's still gonna be racial tension. It's not gonna go away with just like setting up holiday. That's a very like, it's like throwing. It's like trying to stop a freight train with a milk carton or something. It's like putting a small animal in front of a train and hoping that it stops the train. It's like, no, it's going to plow right through that animal, that chicken. Like nothing. It's like nothing. It's like putting a little tater tot down the train track and expecting it to stop the train. It's not even going to make a dent in the speed of racism. Racism runs at a constant speed all through time since races existed. Even before that, racism is human nature. It's human psychology to be a little bit like, towards other races. Whether you like that or that's nature. It's human psychology. Dogs are racist. Not even towards, I'm not saying they're racist towards people. They're racist towards other dogs. When a border collie has to be around a pit bull, the border collie is definitely judging the pit bull. Like, oh, these fucking dumbass, these pit bulls are so violent. They don't think before they act. It's the same thing. Of course, dogs are racist toward other dogs. It's the same thing. Japanese dogs are definitely not fans of dingoes. Like a Shiba Inu would see a dingo and be like, ugh, I don't want to be in that thing's neighbor. I don't even want to think about driving down that guy's neighborhood, like in Australia, where, dingoes, where they live. It's a far cry. Wolves are cool. Like, we don't, same, like, wolves are cool. The reason we like wolves is because they're dignified. They live in packs, you know? Not like coyotes that just go lone, like, just go after dogs. Wolves we respect because they're like the tribal version of dogs. Dingoes, hyenas, they're trash. They're low on the totem pole because they're like scavengers, you know? They just go, like, they're bonkers. So anyway, we're not going to solve racism with holidays. The only thing that solves it is, like, I hate to say it, but, like, separatism. Not like in a evil, like no, you're not allowed here kind of, like, but, like, that's true, though. Like, the further you're away from other races, the less you're going to complain about them, because they won't be interfering in, like, you won't be seeing the contrast as much, or at least experiencing it on first-hand level. Racism, I mean, hey, it's based in real life experience, not just in ignorance. That's what they said when I was growing up. It's like, racism is learned from ignorance. Well, that's a contradiction right there. Either it's learned or you're ignorant. It's not one or it's not both. Can't be both. Can't learn ignorance. So I didn't really get that. I think it was two schools of thought. It was either it was taught and that nobody's born racist, or that it's based on ignorance. Well, I think both are kind of doesn't get us anywhere, because if it's ignorance, that means we could teach it away, and in some ways, sure, you can. If you're super ignorant, then yeah, you could learn some things that, like, okay, don't be that, don't be whatever. But either way, it's learned from experience. You get more racist as you get older from experience. It doesn't justify it, but it just kind of makes it true. Can't justify hatred, but you could certainly justify learned experience changing your perspective on things. Doesn't mean you're gonna act toxic or evil or do anything bad. It just means it's gonna change your perspective, and that's something that you can't say to the woke people in their congregation. But I'm just saying it because maybe if we actually talk about what's true, we'll actually be able to, like, make some headway and not just set up holidays that just cause frustration and are insulting to both sides. So fuck Juneteenth. I'll be celebrating it by waiting for it to be over. I'll be doing my Juneteenth rituals, my traditions that go back to all the way back to 2021 when it first came out. My celebration is I light a candle, and then as soon as the next day happens and the stock markets and the banks open again, I blow out the candle and I go, thank God, it's over. That's stupid. But anyway, I think that covers everything. Sober update. I am 600 days sober from alcohol. 600 days from alcohol. 160 something days from weed. That's about it. Still, I've been eating a lot. I've been eating some unhealthy high carb food because it's delicious and satisfying in a way that healthy food just ain't. Healthy food, you could eat it. You might get some like endorphins of like, ooh, I just ate a healthy meal. I'm full. But it doesn't fully satiate you in a way that bad food does. Bad food makes you feel full and awful. And the awfulness is like deters you from having to get more of it. Like once you've had enough, at least for me, I don't need to get multiple types of fast food in one day. Just, sometimes I want sweet and salt, so I'll get donut. okay, it's addictive and it can lead to a snowball, like a runaway effect where you just get fatter and fatter. But at least you're getting satiated temporarily. And it helps me sleep. It knocks me out when I eat a bunch of onion rings and pecan pie. It knocks me out. My sleep is still horrible. Anyway, it's too late in the episode to talk about boring shit like that. My credit score is good. I was told to get an AR-15 a year ago, 2 years ago, when I was in the market for guns. They were like, yeah, shotguns, you don't want a shotgun for self-defense because it leaves a huge hole in the wall. Get an AR-15 because it leaves little holes in the wall. It's like, yeah, do I really care? Is that really the reason? Am I actually going to use this thing? Is that what I'm really worried about? How big of a hole I'm going to have to repair? It's like, sure, that's a practical reason to get an AR style right instead of a shotgun. But I went with the shotgun because I was like, if I get that AR, then I'm one of those guys who has an AR-15, and then there's like this stigma to it, and I'm already getting a gun. Do I have to get the most stigmatized gun? And he just shrugged. He's like, yeah, whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's Texas. So I didn't get the AR-15, but those are effective. There's a reason they're used by mass shooters, because they're good. They do the trick. They're efficient. But there's probably other guns that are similar, that have a similar, caliber, that just don't look that way. I don't know. I'm not a gun nut. I don't know that much about guns, but there's definitely other, like, sport rifles that have the same, like, capacity and caliber and semi-auto that just don't look scary. So if we ban assault rifles, or which includes, I guess, AR-style sports rifles, the mass shooters will just use the kind that don't look that way, but yet have the exact same capacity and do the exact amount of damage as efficiently. They just don't look as scary. So banning just one style of like sports rifle that you call assault rifle, I don't think that's going to solve the assaulting people problem, because it's just it's like a gateway drug to ban all guns. Banning just one style of legal gun that's perfect, that's already like legal, that's not an assault rifle, that you could just go in and buy. If you're going to ban that, then what's stopping people from allowing them? What's stopping Congress from allowing other bans? Like eventually it'll be handguns, which are way more dangerous. They're used for a lot more homicides than rifles. So yes, you can't really, once you start banning any type of special, like cherry-picked gun, that opens the floodgates to repeal the Second Amendment. And I'll end on this. Really, I don't know why I'm going long. Anyway, the assault rifle ban. I'm anti that. Because the Second Amendment, you could say, oh, why? You really think the Second Amendment is going to stop the government from taking over, from killing a bunch of civilians? Like, yes, I do, because if we have guns, yeah, we're not going to beat the tanks. We're not going to be able to win after a drone. If a B-12 bombs a whole city of civilians, yeah, we can't go against that unless we hijack a B-12 or B-2. But we don't have to, because all it takes is one pistol, one 9mm bullet to kill a fascist leader. If you're an anti-fascist, you should be pro-Second Amendment, because then you could take out the leader, assassinate them, And then the armies that are controlling the F-16s and the carpet bombers and the tank, they won't have anybody to tell them to do that anymore. That's how it works. They don't just do it for fun. They do it because of the president, the fascist, the dude in charge, just one dude is telling them to. So that's what we want. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment, to go after a fascist government or a dictatorship, whatever, a totalitarian, which is usually just one or two dudes making the calls. All it takes is one bullet. So that's the argument for why the Second Amendment is still a good thing in this year and going forward until AI makes everything equalized and takes us all out. Anyway, thank you very much. This has been the Tim Weichselbaum Show, episode 7.